shut up, sorry.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, April 14th meeting of the Pine Bluffs Town Council. Will everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where's my computer?
I got it. Not that it'll have anything on it.
No,
Just a second.
I'm saying
I'm sorry.
too late.
Thank you, though.
The first item we have is the agenda.
I move to amend the agenda to add scholarship selection to the executive session.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to add the scholarship selection to the executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. First item under new business is review and approve plat lot division at 720 Marquardt Avenue.
I move to approve the lot division at 720 Marquardt Avenue on first reading.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the plat for the lot division at 720 Marquardt Avenue on the first reading. All those in favor, or any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 under new business is the Recreation Department seasonal amenities. Item number 1 is the swimming pools and proposed fees.
You need me to say something?
Or we can have a motion then discussion, or we can, I'll just tell you how I feel the same as I've felt the last couple of years about it. I think it's a good amenity for our town. I think in light of, a lot of projects we have going on that aren't reflective of some of those amenities we currently offer, I would prefer that we keep providing that free of charge.
I'd move that we continue to offer the pool free of charge.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to not charge admission at the swimming pool. Any other discussion?
Sonia, you saw in the past when we charged that people treated the pool a little better when they came?
I don't know if they treated any better, but there was no, charge or no charge, we didn't have complaints, I mean, when we don't charge, people are like, wow, you don't charge, and we say, yeah, great. If you'd like to donate, we take donations, that's kind of how we go about that. But, even when we did charge, it was pretty minimal,
Yeah,
and we didn't have complaints when we did charge either, so, I don't know if the treatment was different, Across the board, sometimes they say, if somebody has to pay for something, they'll treat it better, but, I mean, that's, I didn't really,
nothing obvious.
no, I don't think so, really. I mean, we didn't treat it any differently as far as, open or close because of weather or, things like that, or misbehaving kids,
Yeah.
Didn't matter if they charged or if it was free, they, would sit out there 5 minutes or whatever they would have to do.
One other question.
Yeah.
How many, I know you probably don't know the exact number, but ballpark it for me. Do you think people use it from outside Pine Bluffs? Like, people who come from other places? Just out of curiosity.
Outside of Pine Bluffs,
Or perhaps people who don't have kids in our school district.
okay.
That helps.
Occasionally, we would get people from Cheyenne, that's mainly, there's a few, I mean, we don't get a lot of Burns people, which surprises me, but occasionally we would get, a few, I don't know, I would say, on a week, I'd say maybe 10 to 15,
Total,
probably.
out of the,
It just depends on the week too, and we might get, sometimes we get more than others. We get a pool party from Cheyenne, quite a large one, actually. It's the LDS church, and most of those people come from Cheyenne. And they've done that for a long time, but of course, they pay for the pool
yeah,
party.
a little different. Okay, thank
Do
you.
Do you
I know.
track at all, the number of entries into the pool on a daily or?
Yeah, and Heather has the information, and she's not here yet. She's probably still at the community center. She was gonna email it to me, and I don't think she ever did.
Doesn't roughly in the beginning, 50 or 60 a day people? I swear I've seen that in the past.
Oh, yeah, and on hot days, I mean, yeah.
I don't know if that helps ballpark it for you.
Let's see if she ever got that to me, since she couldn't, she's not. Because Mary had sent her that information. She did not send it to me, but she sent it to Heather.
My daughter brings her kids from Cheyenne, and they use the pool. I think partly because she grew up here and
Yeah, that's a little,
it's home to her, to come see grandma
oh yeah, that's
and use
ties.
the pool, so they're,
Yeah.
of some of the
Yeah.
Cheyenne
Oh,
participants, I would say. But she also puts kids in swimming lessons too, so.
That's good.
Oh, no, this is, yeah.
One of the
Thank
things
you.
that
Yeah, the
I
numbers
have
are on.
pondered as far as the treatment of the pool and the charging admission, I think maybe with an adult that may have a little more standing, but I don't think kids make that connection because pretty much everything is free to them. There's no, that connection doesn't seem to happen. But I know, like even campgrounds where if it's a paid campground, it's definitely gonna be nicer and you'll have less hooligans in the campground if it's a paid campground than if it's a free one where you go in. And so I think that there's definitely times where it works to your advantage to where they have to have some skin in the game or they shouldn't ought to be there. But I think it affects adults more so than, I don't think a 9-year-old, if it costs $1 and he has to go bum a buck from his mom, makes no difference to him.
Does it save us in staffing by not charging admission, or does that change anything?
Staffing does not change anything if we charge or don't charge.
Okay. I don't know, I guess I feel like there should be a charge. I don't know what's fair. Looking at some of the comparables, I thought what we had charged most recently was extremely generous.
I would tend to agree with Dave. Keeping it on the lower end, good, but I do think it helps care for the pool, which can be pretty expensive some years. In any way, shape, or form will get close to it. But it helps a little bit with all the, well, whatever kind of cuts we're going to be see coming. I don't know what those will look like. Who knows what they'll look like? So, I don't know. Having a little extra perhaps to help. Needs to be resealed again.
You had revenue numbers from when we did
Yeah, I
charge.
do.
I remember it on a different sheet, but I only have our most recent one, I'm sorry.
The thing that I remembered is it seemed like it was an insignificant contribution really, or not enough to be something that I felt like was.
The year we charged, the last year that we charged, Kim, do you have those numbers on that?
I can look it up here.
The last year that we charged,
If I recall, it was,
for 2024 season, which it was for lessons, donations, pool rental. Last year was 7,692. But when we used the punch cards, the last year that we used the punch cards, it was 2022. 23, 22, or I think we brought in like 10,000.
no, but that's the number that
That's what sticks
I
out in my
remember.
head.
That'd be
Is roughly that.
the total number with lessons and,
No.
With lessons and
No,
everything.
that
I
was
think
just
that
for
was in
admission, I
addition.
think.
oh, really?
In
Okay.
Yeah.
It was that much.
I think
So it was,
so.
so it was a significant amount.
A bit more than I remember.
I guess with us, like you had indicated, we know that we'll be having to look at tightening our belts in other areas. I find it hard to swallow the idea that we're gonna keep this service free. I feel like there should be some cost associated to it. Now, I'm with Jan, I don't think it should be excessive. I don't even know what that rate should be at this point, but I feel like have a day pass, have a individual pass for the season, and have a family pass for the season. And I don't, based on the numbers here, I don't think that the individual and the family pass are that far off from what I was thinking, but I don't know what the day pass should be, if it's $1 or $2 or what have you. I would imagine if you're using the pool very much, you're probably gonna buy a family pass and be done with it, but I guess in my opinion, there should be some cost associated to it.
I guess the thing that I was weighing is what I think as a town, what we ought to be doing is trying to facilitate things that raise or improve or help with the quality of life for the majority of people in town. And there's a lot of things that the town sponsors and does that I feel like have little or no bearing on the quality of life for the vast majority of the people in town. And so I'd be willing to cut those and take the cuts on some of the other things that really there is very little or low participation rate for the vast majority of the citizens of the town, and try and subsidize the ones that I feel like actually do raise the quality of life for the people in town.
We completely agree with that.
So what things do you guys have in mind then?
Oh, like subsidizing the archaeological center. I don't feel like that substantially raises the quality of life for the average citizen in town, but I feel like the pool and the use of the pool does.
How often did we have the archaeological site open last year?
I don't think we can, like, we're in the middle of
Okay.
this particular item. I'm not trying to, I think from a,
There's a motion on
I think you can
There's a
still
motion.
discuss it, you just can't make a decision on that. But the last thing on there does show the dig site stuff. But that number isn't anywhere near what would it be for the pool if we're looking at similar amounts.
I do have the counts if you wanna hear.
Sure.
They have them in their council packs, yeah.
for the dig
For the
site.
pool,
Oh, the pool,
sorry, yeah.
okay.
Basically, the way she did it is just a high count for the day. Anywhere from 49, then of course I have weather things in here too. 49, 66, this is first week we're open. Second week, 48 to 50 is a high count, then the third week, 78. A lot of it depends on the day too, on how hot it is and what day it is. 65, high count 84, next week 84. The week after that, high count 25, 64, 84. That's the week of July 7th. And then a week of the 14th of July, 41, 37, 40, 29, 17. The week of the 21st of July, it goes down a little bit sometimes during Frontier Days. Although the week of the 21st, which would be start of Frontiers, but we had a high count of 83 that week. So a lot of it also depends on the weather.
Do you have an idea how many days the pool was open last year?
It's probably easier to figure out how many we were
12
closed.
weeks, probably.
Yeah,
Probably
I-
12-week season, right? 11 or 12 weeks.
Yeah, we
That's
open the
what
day
I
after
use.
Memorial Day and we close the Saturday before school starts, so,
Not quite 12 weeks.
yeah. And then, there was probably, I would say 6 days through the whole summer where we weren't open, 6 to 8.
Yeah, there were a
Because of
couple
weather.
cold days,
Yeah.
all day cold.
Yeah. Towards the end of the season, closed due to weather, like the week of the 4th of August, it was right there's 3 days that were closed, 4 days. So, and then the last week, high count, 23, 42, towards the end of the summer. It's not as novel anymore, and fairs going on and
Right.
other things.
So, back to your original point, Dennis, I get what you're saying, that you'd rather leave this to be open and free, but then remove things elsewhere in the community that aren't as value to as many.
Well, I think if we're gonna be having to make adjustments or cuts, or we should be deciding by priority what affects the most people and what raises the quality of life for the people in Pine more than the other items, and maybe weigh them on that scale. That's where I'm coming from on those.
No, it makes sense. I just, I think the things we would be looking at cutting don't overlap with the people who use the pool.
I'm
So
sure that's true.
be hurting one demographic more so. Your multiple cuts versus,
Possibly true.
discussion? Hearing none, there's been a motion and a second to keep the pool free. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
It's on me. I will vote aye for the keeping it free. Next item is the archaeological dig site continued operations. I think we have some numbers on that. We have attendance numbers. Do we have?
Operational costs.
Yeah, did we kind of have some operational costs?
I would say on an average year, it's between $5,000 and $6,000, provided no major repairs or anything need to happen over there.
So I guess it doesn't matter whether we have the discussion now or after, but my 2 cents is, well, we frequently come across things that there's been investment made and it's an asset, I guess, to our community, and that could be a number of different things. In this particular case, it's the archaeological site. It's hard to understand, like, at what point is that still have value? And using Dennis's point of view, I think it has very little value to our citizens. Does it have value as a community? I think, like, in terms of, separates our community in some other way, perhaps. But in terms of value to our own citizens, I think it's probably pretty low on that list of decisions.
Do you think does it bring anyone to town, or is it just something that people do since they're already here?
Like, do they decide to eat at a restaurant or stay in the hotel kind of thing, or go out to the distillery?
Yeah.
Which is a case I could make about the swimming pool as well. And so it's a case I didn't make because I don't feel like making it about this. And I could be wrong, I'm just using my own opinion about this, and Sonia could be more specific, but I feel like a great deal of the attendance we get to the dig site more or less comes from people just at the rest area that either learn about it at the rest area or they want to take a hike around the hill anyway and they get there and it's there.
There's something there to see.
And maybe I'm completely wrong about that, which is something, like, it's not to be ignored, but it feels to me like I don't know that it makes us a destination.
No, I'd agree with you, but to be fair, I would say we're talking about getting rid of it altogether versus just charging a little bit for the pool. So one's removing the amenity or whatever you want to call it.
Can we open it on, like, during Frontier Days or?
Trail days.
Yeah, trail days, like special event kind of thing. Because I can see on trail days people get out and they're doing things around town and they're doing town activities. I could see maybe, but I don't know whether that's even feasible. How much of a commitment do you have to make?
I can
What
answer that.
Yeah, please do.
If you want me to. So, we have had people like come from Wyoming state parks. They brought a group down one time and wanted to tour it, things like that. What we could do is, unveil all of it, open it up. You can imagine it takes, the only thing it'd be cleaning, you'd have to clean it periodically so everything doesn't get all, wind blows up there and dusty and everything. I mean, we could uncover it and get it ready, and then if we had like the Wyoming Cultural you know, people that would wanna come and do a tour. We have many school tours that went through there. Most
Recently?
of the people that would go through would people that were at the rest area, or we had a lot of people say, you know, we always wondered when it was open. We finally caught you when you were open, because, you know, they would drive by, you know, going to or from somewhere, and they would see it, but most of the traffic is off the interstate, you know.
When it is open, what hours is it open? Typically, what did you do?
Well, last year we did Monday. I went through all of the visiting from the years before, and our busiest days were Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And so last year we opened Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 10 to 2.
Was it a lot cheaper to keep it open last year with those shorter hours than the prior 2 years?
Yes, because the prior 2 years we were open, you know, 7 days a week, 10 to 4. Basically Monday through Friday, and Saturday and Sunday it was 10 to 2 and 12 to 4.
So was the, $5,000 it cost to keep open?
That was last
Last
year, I
year.
believe. Kim could probably.
Yeah, no, last year I think it was actually just a little under 4,000, like 39
Okay.
and some change.
So those prior years, 22 and 23, were they like 8,000 then? Or 10?
Yeah, I'd have to
Roughly.
pull some numbers. It was probably more, and, you know, we did have significant costs in prior years only because we had a lot of maintenance that
Yeah.
needed to be done on the facility, and, you know, while it can be open, just something to keep in mind is that the initial opening is when we usually find out if there's issues there, because sometimes we have our buddy, the raccoon, that, you know, camps out in there all winter and tears stuff up, and we find leaks and things like that, so.
Well, we normally don't take visitor comments during this section, but
I
Kevin,
just-
if you have
Yeah, I just
something to
had one
say.
comment for it. Since I've been working up at the hotel, it's a really underutilized source for this type of thing. They don't have any brochures or anything for that kind of stuff. I have people asking me all the time, you know, what's there to do around here, where can we go, what can we see? That might be something to really take a look at.
I was just gonna get together with you.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I have had a lot of people asking about the archaeological, they see it in, I don't know if they find it online or whatever, they ask me about it when it's open and things, so, just for my 2 cents.
Sonia, can I ask you your 2 cents? Do you think it's worth keeping open?
The archaeology?
You don't have to answer if you're uncomfortable answering it.
Well, I would like to keep it open, of course, because it's part of my stuff, you know what I mean? And so I'd like to, but I certainly understand, you know, cuts have to be made, and I understand that as well. If I could have, you know, it's possible that, like I said, we could, you know, do it on a case-by-case basis, you know, if we've got school groups that wanna come, you'd hate to go, wow, you know, I mean, so it would be nice that we could open it and have those school groups come in. Last year, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, it was Alvin came, and they helped us put up the teepee, you know. The kids helped us put up the teepee, we did the whole thing with them, and, so I think it's great to have somewhere that if someone is here overnight, that they have somewhere that they could go, you know, but.
Do we charge for admission for it?
No, there's a donation in there, that's donations from, and you know, 2024, we had $374 in donations, $300 sold in t-shirts, and we were open about half the time. And it's about, you know, from 22 to 23, donations were, you know, $900 in those 2 years. T-shirt sales were, the highest was, we almost sold $1,000 of t-shirts in 23, so. But, you know, I hate to see anything leave, but I certainly understand, and I know, you know, it's a hard decision for you guys to make. So.
I guess for my opinion on it, to me, it is slightly different than the pool. The pool wasn't in danger of going away. like it was just charging to help maintain it, make sure it stays part of our community. Whereas this decision, to me, if it's closed, I think that's the downhill to it going away totally. I don't know if I'm personally there, ready to say, nope, we're done. Or if we're that dire in terms of those kinds of cuts. I mean, maybe we will be, and I'll have to reverse my opinion on that. But I get it's expensive for how little it on the surface appears to bring. I wonder if there would be a way to use this year as a year to gather data and see how many people come into our community because of it. That brings it to the hotel or the restaurants. And maybe use that in the future to make a decision if it has value we can't see.
I think,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think for me, beyond the economic development that it potentially brings, if we're open this year, and I think we had this discussion last year, I would like to see town staff, the rec department, anyone who has a vested interest in it from the community, really be thinking about a plan moving forward. Like, something to bring some life to it, something that sustains it for a little longer. Because I think it feels like we're just kicking the can every year. And so just some food for thought as we move forward on this.
I would second that. Like, the part I don't like about this is I feel like we're just delaying the inevitable. And maybe that's good, maybe that's fine, maybe that's what we should do until it's not sustainable or until we maybe realize some more of our funding issues that are probably coming our way, but,
Haven't been realized yet.
yeah, and so, like, I would agree and maybe expand on that, you know, I don't know if there's a plan to revitalize it or to make it, you know, to try to attract more people. And I'm not saying we don't try to get people there, but, you know, for instance, what does it look like in the future? Is this really something that, you know, if we had a really, and I'm not saying we don't, I don't want anybody to take it that way, but if, I feel like it fits in really well with maybe the museum as a sidearm to the museum, and maybe they have better, maybe it's something that stays on their radar a little bit better, and that they can find a way to incorporate into their planning with, you know, labor and advertising and how that comes together. I'm not saying that's the answer, but as one example, like, that's how you keep maybe both of them moving forward in a way that I'm not sure as the town, we're gonna continue to have the thing.
Is there any chance that there would be any future development there? Or is what we have there what we have?
I think unless we do development.
Does the university have any interest in? What?
I think they've turned
I think
that
it's
over.
ours, yeah,
Darn.
right?
And
Um,
extra things.
I hate to see anything like that just
Go away.
go away, yeah, because I love anything that we can have for the town is great in my opinion. And so if we can make it work in the budget, I'm all for it, you know, but if we have to make cuts, then at some point, nobody likes making the hard decisions of where you cut the funding on stuff. But I definitely would love to see it stay open and be viable, and if we can get the merchandising up. I was impressed with the t-shirt sales that you were saying that you had. That's remarkable if we could promote it somehow, do some merchandising, do something to help it stand on its own a little better. That would be great.
I think the one thing we can't lose sight of, and maybe this is where it comes to a real decision point, which is, you know, as long as there's no unforeseen expenses, it seems like it's something I'm willing to stay after just a little bit and see if we can kind of figure out what we're gonna do in the future. But if, you know, I'll just be honest with you, if there's a $25,000 repair up there, it's unlikely that I would be supportive of making said repair, which I don't know what you do unless the situation is different than it is today, but. Austin?
Just from the police department standpoint, I mean, we're driving through there all the time. How late were we open on Saturdays? Because I think we're missing a lot of people on a Saturday, or even a Friday. Maybe adjust those hours to where you're going a little bit deeper, especially maybe not to kind of kick the can down the road. Instead of being open on a Monday, Tuesday, when there's not a lot of movement out there, and I don't think there's a lot of people from the town going out, and even the hotel's probably not as busy, but towards that Thursday, especially Friday, Saturday, you have a lot of traveling. The rest area is kind of a hotbed to stop. It's a great, a lot of people that do travel I-80 consistently like to stop here, and they're always making comments that every time they do go back over there, it's usually closed, so.
Well, what I did was I took numbers from 22 and 23, and believe it or not, Saturday and Sunday were our least visited days.
Oh, really?
That's why we were open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, because those were our Wednesday, Sunday, and Saturday and Sunday were our least visited days.
So we've been
Off
open
of
on
those numbers.
Saturday, Sundays before too?
What's that?
So we've been open all week?
Yeah, yep, in 22 and 23 we were, and those were, so that's why that's how I came up with when we would be open in 2024.
Okay.
And
So, Sonia, what's the season?
season is Memorial Day to Labor Day.
And so how do we, and once again, not picking on it, but
No.
because this is what I believe in, much like Dennis believes in. Like, it's impossible for us at those dates to catch school groups.
We opened early for Alvin.
Okay, so do we, once
When they
again,
came
are we taking it to the, because I'll guarantee you that almost no one in the Pine Bluffs school system has been there. And so once again, are we using it for the betterment of our own school kids and that's not on you necessarily, I mean, they have to show interest in it, but I guess that would be another factor for me if we could educate our own youth some there too, or we set up something, I don't know.
I guess two things. The first being, if we did hypothetically close it, what does that look like? Does the building just sit there and rot? Like, what, do we try to get someone like the museum to take it on? But if they don't, like what? I think that's something we should really consider. Like, what if we can't find someone to take it, then what? 'Cause it doesn't sound good if town destroys archaeological.
Well, definitely, if you're gonna do something, you need to have an exit strategy on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking. I think that might help
Yeah,
us
what does
make a
that look like?
decision. So I would be in favor of keeping it open another year. But during that year, if Sonia and Heather are able to maybe find ways to get more people involved, find a way to figure out who it's bringing into our community, if it's adding value that we just don't see on paper. Like, oh, you know, Curry's in the hotel see a 10% increase in people coming because something happened at the archaeological site, or we had 10 more people there than normal, and we could see a daily increase in the distillery. I don't know, something like that, that I guess shows that value that Dennis was talking about earlier with the pool, and what does it bring back to our community? I don't, that is kind of where I stand. And I know I agree, just kicking it down is not going to do probably any good long-term, but
So is that a really long motion?
yes, it's a very long motion.
Can
Would
you
you like
repeat
to
that?
make a motion that's a little?
Yes, I'll try and make it a little more concise. I move to keep the archaeological dig site open for this coming season with the, I guess, aim that our recreation and maybe other town partners will try to find ways to get that more in use with our community, and also try to see what other value it brings outside just monetary donations to our community.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to continue with the dig site for the coming year. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I was wondering if we could, on a number of these subjects where it affects the town and the quality of life of the town, if the town doesn't have the budget for it, if we could, maybe go after corporate donations or other funding to supplement it. It's like, I like the idea of keeping the pool free for the kids in town, and I'd even be willing to underwrite that to some degree. And I feel a little bit the same way on the archaeological center. I believe it has value for the town. And perhaps if we floated that, we could get some donations from some of the businesses in town to help to sponsor it and keep them open. Just something to put out there.
Is there value in, I know you have a motion, but is there value in going longer hours and less days? Does that make any sense at all? Like one less day, longer hours?
Like targeted days where on the days that you did have more traffic, maybe be open 2 more hours and then close it a day where
Your least busy day?
if we had a really good idea of the visitation of it, if you could target the hours and the days that it's open. Anyway, but that's part of what Jana was getting at with trying to do a little bit of fact finding on when we do see the visitation the best and what hours would be most advantageous to keep it open.
I think you do have a lot of those numbers. You gave us those numbers, but what I would like to point out that, I mean, I think also with what you're asking for is maybe, it's so few visitors, like I don't think that this is too troublesome, but rather than just anecdotally, we maybe should actually inquire about how they came to stop there. And I'm not saying you haven't been doing that conversationally. I'm saying maybe we ought to really, like, the data points are so low that we could track that as well. And
a thank you for coming sign-in sheet. What brought you? What are you doing? Are you staying? Are you,
So we
that kind of thing.
If you know Lois Reget, she pretty much asks all those things when people come up there when she's working. And Debbie too, they did a really good job. And most of the people were just at the rest area and wanna, stretch their legs, come over, look at the thing. Some people, I don't think anybody, and there were groups that came specifically to visit that too. Like I said, from the Wyoming, for the cultural, we had school groups. The one came from, I think, Sterling. It was like a homeschool group kind of kid thing, and all different ages. So there are groups that do come specifically for that, and we can, we can figure that out. I can have her ask a few more questions or whatever. You also have to be a little bit, because people also don't like to be barraged with, some people
Well,
just
yeah.
like to come in, take a gander, and then, go back
Sure.
out and not, but yeah, we can work on that. There are people that live here in town that when they have guests come from out of town, so there's more than once when she mentioned so-and-so brought their aunt up from somewhere, because they've always wondered about it or whatever. We do get a few town people that bring their guests here when it's open, so. And we can look at the hours. We kind of did the 10 to 2 because it's, the meat of the day. And over the lunch hour, because that's when a lot of people would stop. When people are traveling, they tend to stop, well, when they need gas or,
Longer at lunch.
yeah, lunchtime or, whatever the case may be, so. But we can definitely look at different, days and hours. That's, the reason I got those is just from past visitors logs, when you came in, what days were the busiest.
Could you perhaps, to maybe save time or to catch people we see going to it when it's not actually opened, is like just put up a little sign with the QR code, and it takes them to a little survey that if they fill it out, they then can win a Pine Bluffs mug and distillery bottle or something like that. I don't know, just something that gets people when no one's there, and they're curious. I don't know how to do one, but I don't think they're too difficult.
I think that's a good
to do.
idea.
I guess my 2 cents, and we'd probably beat this to death, but obviously, in my opinion, somehow we need to figure out probably how to get more use, and I'm a bit nervous, and I know you have the data, but I think it's tough when you're open for small windows. You're gonna lose a lot of folks, and you might lose the bulk of them on one day that wanted to come at weird times, and I don't know how you fix that, so that's just throwing that out there. But I wanna just go back to Ally's point, and I think Dennis also said something, is like shutting a place down is probably more cumbersome than we're giving it credit for, and what do we do with it, and what's the exit strategy? But I think we should consider that at some point closer to the end of the season than this kind of.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it now, and I think that's what we said last year, and we really just never got back around to it. But we're kind of right up against it now, and so that's a factor for me. But I think we should consider what it looks like when we close it down, rather than just saying we're gonna close it down. And then along with that goes, I'm not saying they need to take it over, I'm not commenting on anything, but just from a simple marketing perspective, if we're not trying to co-pack with a marketing plan with our museum, I think we're making I think we need to figure out how to, those are so similar that in nature of people just interested in various forms of history, that we should be working together probably to figure out maybe how to advertise both better or something. But once again, I'm not saying you don't already do that, so I'm a little bit behind on that, but I do think those opportunities are so similar that somehow we should think of them as such.
Is there anything on the website about the archaeological site, something like come visit Pine Bluffs Archaeological Site for if you wanna schedule a group visit, call this number or get a hold of the town and we can arrange for school groups, whatever, so that it doesn't have to be manned, but they could arrange to have somebody there for group visits or that kind of thing. I think that could possibly be useful.
It's under the recreation, it's on the website. I'm not sure how detailed it is, but we could certainly put something on there
Okay.
like that. And I think,
I just thought with the school groups and stuff, they're not gonna take a chance and come here.
no, they always call.
And they do,
always-
so,
Yeah, we always, yeah.
so you're
every time
usually
we've
getting
had
a heads up ahead of time.
Every time we've had a school group, they've called and we've made arrangements.
Okay,
And made sure, dates and times. And if we weren't open that day, we would be open for them. I mean, that's,
okay.
we've made arrangements, so, yeah. And I, like I said, I don't know how explained we have on our website about it, but,
Do you-
I'll look.
Do you ever tie it into the teepee rings or the other stuff up in the bluffs?
Yeah, I mean, when somebody goes through there on a tour, they talk about all the TV rigs and
Okay.
stuff that are up in the bluffs.
Do the students actually go up there to look? See if they can see?
They're really hard, you really,
I know.
a person, I could go up and find some because I was showed by Dr. Rear where they were, But just a person going up there, you would have no idea that barely peeking out piece of rock until you go start and you stand people on them and all of a sudden you look up and you're in a ring. You're in a circle and it's like, oh, it's a teepee ring. So, we don't have any marked out or anything up there, which we could do that too if, but,
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to move forward with the dig site for the year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All right, visitor comments. Yes, Patty.
I know you've already passed it and we've moved on, but in all of my almost 73 years, history has been a very important factor. And if there was a way to get grants, a way to get Laramie County Historical Society, anything involved that would help pay, besides great idea on the corporate donations. That's a really good idea. But to me, closing something permanently and losing history is very sad. That's my only opinion.
Thank you.
I have one thing too, I'm on the board for the museum, and we have a meeting next Thursday, so I'll kind of float some of this stuff with them, and, see if we can work together a little more.
Great. Any other visitor comments? Department reports, Jana?
Yep, let's see, so the update from the senior center, looks like these are February numbers, so maybe she mistyped. Oh well. Current members, 268 meals served, 1,079. 9 of their clients participated in activities. They have 7 clients on their caregiving program. The food pantry client list is 102 households, and they served 32 clients. They also want to say the food pantry will be relocating to their new location at the historic high school at the end of the month. Thank you, Town of Pine Bluffs, for allowing us to use the old police department this last year while we were getting established. And that's it.
Great. Dave?
Not much to report. Did have a joint powers board meeting that was last month on the 3rd of March. The leases were discussed and the food pantry was brought up. I think their financial situation is maybe slightly better than it was a year ago, but still something to be to be monitored.
I have nothing to do. Ally?
Lots of things happening for WHAM, regional meeting on Thursday from 5 to 7 on Zoom. If you didn't get the link and would like to join, let me know. And then a board meeting on the 24th. Otherwise, I think just business as usual.
Great.
The landfill got its Chapter 6 permit on April 6th. So it has been completely through the process to get a permit to do a dry transfer station at the landfill. And also they had some rather catastrophic failures of some of the equipment last month. And they had the transmission on their packer explode and go down. And they had their grinder also fail. So we did a little bit of research and we found a package deal on a Tana brand grinder and packer both, and so we made the commitment to buy both of them, which was a pretty substantial, it was like $2.3 million commitment to get that equipment. But the thing that I was looking at when we were looking through it is that we can get a lot better performance on the landfill using a higher quality grinder and a packer that's more specific to the application. It costs about $6 million to develop a landfill cell. And the typical fill rate on the landfill cell has been about 6 years, so we're looking at $1 million a year in cell development and costs. And with the new grinder and the new packer, we should be able to extend the cell life by as much as 3 years.
Wow.
So the initial investment looked terrible. We needed to do something because the equipment was down anyway. But it looked like with the better technology and better advancement in both fuel economy and the ability to extend the life of the landfill cells, it looks like we'll have about a 3-year payback on the equipment. So we did it. We pulled the trigger on it and bought a new grinder and a new packer, and they are there now and they're using them, and hopefully it's going well. I was hoping to go out and take a visit and see how the new equipment looked.
Great. Alex?
2,500 years from now, it'll be harder for them to figure out who we were, though.
Yeah, well, because it's all ground into tiny little pieces and buried.
It's funny, we were just going through that for the last hour.
I just have a couple of matters for executive session.
Great. Austin?
Had a meeting with the state about a grant that I wrote. It's gotten shifted to a new grant to improve safety around the park pool and area. These will be light up crosswalk signs, like kid safety signs, and then a more permanent speed indicator sign other than the one we have there presently right now. But it's a little smaller and can stay there at a more permanent basis throughout the year. And they're solar. We have constant problems with batteries. These will be solar and kind of act like the school indicator signs, the 20 mile per hour signs that we have now. They just kind of flash at you. That's kind of how the crosswalk signs will be, but they'll be flashing yellow. So we're in the talks with the state about that project. So.
Good, It's a good
We
project.
did.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
How do you treat a sign like that? Cause it, you know, where we have our temporary sign, I've given that some thought. And depending on how my house is positioned, and I advocated and do advocate for us using the signage we have, but how does that impact people come, I don't know, 10 o'clock at night, assuming a flashing sign?
I
is
did talk
pointing
to, when I said it there, I did talk to, oh shoot, I'm gonna forget names now too. But I spoke with the two houses next to it, to make sure that if it did get too bright, to let me know, we can dim it just a little bit. But if it was a problem, we could move it, it's mobile. Those smaller signs, they're, this is LED, but those smaller signs are a lot less intensity. And you can turn them down quite a bit too, especially at night. So, this sign at night, it is pretty bright, especially when it flashes at you. But these other signs, we can curb that down a lot when it flashes. So that, again, advancements of technology from even a couple,
So I take it it's not programmable as to when you can get it to, like the school zone, they come on when it's appropriate and they shut off when it's appropriate. This is not that way.
no, this is, just a constant, speed, your speed sign. It's not a,
Okay, it's a
speed
your
sign, it's
speed
just your
sign, it's
speed.
not
It kinda operates similar to what this is, however, it's just a speed indicator sign, flashes your speed, says to slow down in red. Again, all of it, I think all of it's actually red when it flashes, so it's a lot less light. Red light's a lot less intense, but it still catches your eye when you're driving. If you have something red flashing at you, you're gonna pay attention to it.
And those pool lights are pretty bright too, so it might drown out the red flashing.
Yeah. So,
Hey, thank you.
thank you.
Sonia, do you have anything else? Ann?
I've just been getting ready for the quarterly elected official meeting. It will be upstairs on the 30th, and I will be gone that day for LAP training. What does that stand for, Kim? Local Public Agency. Oh, LPA, not LAP. So I won't be here for that meeting, but Ally has agreed to help me the day before, get it set up, so it'll be ready for you guys.
And that's here upstairs.
Yes.
Six, right?
Okay, thank you. Kim?
The North project is moving right along. Over the course of the next week, they're gonna be doing some water pressure testing and some sewer testing and continued work on roadways. But we anticipate Altitude Electric will be out here next month to start putting in the electric infrastructure, along with Range, who will be putting in some cable. We're just finalizing that, still waiting to hear back from Black Hills on when they'll be out here. The pedestrian ADA walkway study is underway, and so if you see people out taking some measurements of sidewalks and all that, that's what they're doing. They're here for that study. We also are starting the minimum site assessment at the fuel tank out at the airport. So if you see anybody there around that fuel tank doing any work, it's the folks from Terracon. And we are, Public Works has started working on getting the sprinklers going for the season, so you'll see those folks out there, and Andy has started doing some hydrant flushing. And as the weather holds out, he'll continue hydrant flushing. And of course, we're gonna start having our budget meetings with all the department heads here in the next week or so, and we'll have a budget work session during our council work group at the next meeting. That's all I have.
And I apologize, Kevin, did you have anything to add about the airport?
Well, with the airport,
they did get the ADSB out receiver going, and I think it was February 1st. So we're trying to get some data from that. It's been down a little bit because of when we started having really crappy weather, we've had a lot of lousy weather. But as of today, we've had almost 400 operations since February 1st, so I think that's amazing. Because they were always guessing, you know, how many operations were there every year, and I think they were thinking it was about 2,000 a year, maybe, and the flying weather's been terrible, and we're already up to 400, so I think we'll be surprised on the amount of traffic going through the airport, so.
Did you go and do a couple hundred touch and goes a day yourself or something?
And the AWAS, they've done some site surveys, some electrical, engineering surveys and stuff like that. So all that's on, you know, right on track, so.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Announcements and meetings.
Next meeting is April 28th, and our workshop will be at 4:30, regular council meeting at 6. Oh, and I would like to say that our annual Arbor Day celebration is at City Park on Thursday, the 24th at 1 p.m. For more information, see Sonia.
At 1.
Yes. That's at 1, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. First graders.
Any other announcements or meetings?
I move to go into executive session for the matters of real estate and scholarship selection.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session for matters of real estate and scholarships. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, everyone.